All right, so this is going to be on the Leo full moon, and the Leo full moon is going to impact us in different places, of course. But let me get my screen up. Got a lot of things open. Hmm. I'm gonna share that. And to begin with, let's see. The Leo full moon will take place next week on the 25th um, of not February, but January. Woohoo! I'm way ahead here. Um, it would be significant for letting go of old people, places, things, characteristics, teachings, foundations, and money. For each person, it's going to be different. When we look at the good part about this moon, it's a combination of releasing. So we're letting go of something. From the last new moon, we may have acquired something. That means that something has grown in our lives concerning our character, people, places, and things, projects, teachings, foundations, and money. What makes the difference is the place that it's going to be in for each of us. So if we look at Cancer, Cancer is going to experience this full moon, and they call it a wolf moon. I got my almanac, my new one, on the moons, and it's called a wolf moon, and it says the moon is shrinking as its interior cools, causing certain sections of the brittle crust to push up over other sections. These thrust faults are likely still producing moonquakes. So there's moonquakes going on. Fortunately, the shrinking is a slow process. Over the past several hundred million years, the diameter of the moon has shrunk only about 150 feet. All right. So that's what they call moon talk. The full moon or the full wolf moon is named for wolves that howl at around this time or howl around this time. Howling warns other wolves and wolf packs to stay away and reinforce social bands. So that stuck out to me reading reinforced social bands because what does Leo have to do with social bands when it usually is so self-absorbed, right? And we don't want this to be directed at Leos. We want people to understand and us to understand that we become self-absorbed in the Leo energy that we are sitting in, and that moon um, deals with for us. Like for me, it's the eighth house. It deals with taxes, death, sexuality, um, environment, biological situations, social situations. So it can have me looking at myself only in those areas unless I take on the idea of the opposition or the opposite sign, which is Aquarius. So when I look at the social aspect, what I could see here is there's a releasing of self-identity or selfishness to take on group reinforcement or social bands, because that's what it's about. If you look at a wolf, if a wolf is walking by itself, that's not generally normal because they move in packs, right? So there's something wrong with a wolf that is alone or a loner. Now, at times they will be found by themselves, but it's minimal, and I don't want to just base our social identity off of theirs, because we have to be isolated at times according to the universe. The isolation creates stamina and stability for us to understand who we are. It also gives us the ability to tap out of the chatter of others, to find our identity. What most people won't understand is that their identity is shaped off of what they hear, what they see, what they I'm about to say grouperize with. That's a new word. Okay, what they group themselves into. And so they find themselves not never finding out who they are because they don't allow themselves in to the position of isolation or meditation or being alone, to understand that if you can be alone, you will omit other people's conversations and take on the conversation of your own or the philosophy that you teach. A lot of people are teaching, let's go there, out of what they were taught. So where is the breaking of traditions or other people's thoughts, right? Where is the breaking of situations where people have felt like they are victims to circumstances? Well, you're a victim to circumstances because you never learn what the right circumstance for you is. Does that make sense? And I'm making examples. All right. So if you are a Leo, if you are a Sagittarius, if you're a Cancer, if you're a Capricorn on here, raise your hand. All right. So when you raise your hand, what you're doing is understanding at this time that you're really going to pull from Aquarius energy. And some people make things hard because I'm saying this for a reason. They won't look at their individual self, and they'll look more at their group self. On the other hand, they'll look at their individual self and not look at their group self. When we look at our group self, we have to understand that we're still an individual. When we look at our family self, we have to still look at, the fact that we're individual. And what that means is that you have an identity to be shaped within your own chart and your wheel of life. And your life is a wheel and a world that you live in. A lot of times, people they resort to the second coming of Jesus. And the second coming of Jesus is no different than the second coming of ourselves. So we're born into a world of sin that we identify with. And so when we are working out our salvation, coming into freedom, what happens is that we begin to identify with authenticity, not just the word, but what it means to us from within. And then there's an awakening. And that awakening begins to say, look at this, look at that, but don't look at what everyone else is doing. And the reason why is because your authentic self needs to come into understanding with authenticity and what it really is. When we look at Jesus as a form of identity and the Christ in him, we look at the fact that he didn't have a church that's identified. That means that he did not follow with the masses. That's identified. He didn't follow under the teachings of those that have churches and synagogues. Okay. So we got three things going on here that is not about religion, but it's about your identity spiritually. And your identity can never be shaped without your spiritual foundation. So this wheel that we're on, the world that we live in is one thing, but the other world of the second coming has to do with you and I waking up. And the strength of Aquarius energy will come through because you'll start feeling like in Leo's the full moon saying, I'm sick of being like this. Well, what is it that you're sick of being like? Have you been self-serving and didn't realize it in the area of your money or of your teaching, of your or the foundations of philosophy that you is it all about yourself or is it switching gears? Is it selflessness? Is your character based off of you only, or is it based off of your spiritual characteristics? I don't really want my character to be based off of people. I want it to be based off of spirituality. And the reason why is because I don't want to be like people that I see. Why? Because I feel like I wasn't meant to be like everyone else. That breaks down the monotony of jealousy. It breaks the power of envy. It breaks down the haterism. Why do you hate me if you really are a Christian or if you're spiritual? And why do you hate yourself if you're spiritual? It's a secret. Jealousy is a secret. It confuses us. Envy and striving, all of that's Galatians 19. And so when I look at the second coming, and that's a world of who I am and who you are, what the new moon or the moon says in Leo is that I am an individual, but if I was fighting to stay an individual, it's time for me to become group oriented, put myself in groups, stop being resistant and to understand that there's something that I need to learn, you need to learn, that we all still need to learn because Leo's energy, it can put you in a place. This is all of us. This is where Molly McCord, she talks directly to people. She doesn't talk to their personality. She talks to the collective. When we start talking to the collective, what we're saying is that, okay, this is what's happening in my Leo energy. And my Leo energy could bring on drama for other people and their identity as an individual. How? Because I begin to say, y'all don't act like a group. I'm tired of communicating and not getting results. So my position as a person dealing with Leo's energy in my chart, which is, the environment, biological, social, and spiritual standing says, okay, listen, I see this coming back around and you guys still do not listen, social. And so I'm going to back out or y'all going to do something to help break the spirit of confusion in this place that has to do with mental health, spiritual health, economic health. See, all of this is what it's building and bridging for me. The confusion about what I do and what you do has to be congruent. Why? Because when I look at everything that I just spoke about, what Capricorns will deal with has to do with a group orient. It's not individual. It may have been individual in the beginning of my life when I was learning how to deal with my family, but it was still group on both levels because this area of eighth house for me with Leo has to do with connecting with people, how to solve the problem of taxes. And then going further for me and saying, listen, y'all need to all over the world understand what taxes is doing and what it's not doing and why you're paying people that are not maybe doing for the people. Okay, so shall we go on? Any questions?
No questions.
Okay, so Cancer will experience the full moon in their second house. So the full moon is going to have Cancer's releasing something if they are aware and waking up. If they're aware and waking up. The second house means that you're dealing with self-value and confidence. The value means that it's connected to what your worth is. What do you believe your worth is? This is not your self-identification right now, although you need that. And Cancer should have been dealing with that during the Cancer full moon, releasing old identities that did not serve their purpose. If they didn't, then they have to come back around, and they could go through some changes with their emotions in their money if they didn't let go of some things that did not support their value system. Your value system has to be renewed, and there's an up leveling of the value and the confidence. What I find working with myself and people is that we don't understand that our confidence builds as much as we grow spiritually. That's why your second coming, like Christ, a lot of people don't understand it. One day I'll be reminded to teach on the second coming, but we are watching Christ as he rose up again, ascended. Many, many words that are connected to astrology are in the Bible, right? You go on to read, some people read Amos. Amos even talks about Pleiades. There's so much contradiction, not to say that God was contradicted, but so much contradiction that you can catch the fact that there was writings that were not appropriate to teach people, because Pleiades and the Orions are there, and it's not disputed, according to Amos, the prophet, who was a farmer. Very, very important, because Amos, being a prophet that was a farmer, connects to creative finances, which is a Leo energy. Creative finances, creative projects. Entertainment is all creativity. So Amos spoke about the Pleiades and the Orion. And there are people that set in place to keep you from learning and understanding what the truth is concerning your identity, mind, and here your value. You see, if you break the code in these in the information that was given to you, then you'll be able to go on and begin to write your own story according to what you are able to do, and the Spirit of God in you is giving you to do your purpose. Because what's the purpose of studying astrology if you don't excel? You want to know what you're going to get out of this, what you can do, and it's not fast. One of the most important things with understanding your moon sign and your astrology is to get your emotions in order. Your cup does not need to vomit on people. See, my cup overfloweth. It means that I'm going to sit at the table with prosperity. But your cup, who you are, is the cup. I sit at the table in the presence of all of my enemies, my own self that has been against me. After I sit at the table with my own self and all that I have had against my own self succeeding, what I find is my value, my identity, the confidence that I have in Christ. So the other thing for the Cancer to remember, remember, is this is your money house. This is where you make your money. So even though you're releasing things, you should have been getting some stuff over from the new moon in Leo, um, sixth house. I mean, not sixth house. Why is that coming up? Let me think about that. Okay, tell me why. That's Virgo energy. But okay, so you might be looking at speaking, because this sixth house is, you might be looking at Oh, speaking more. Okay. Yeah, send me your TikTok. Okay, here we go. So the sixth house came out of my mouth, and I'm like, well, what is that for? Okay, and it's Virgo energy, it's Mercurial energy. So there's creating of the um the voice or social information, things that's going to help people because Virgo is a help house. Yes. All right. So the other thing is remembering that flow and your value. When you go on social media, because it's creativity, you're not going to be afraid after you release the seeds of fear, right? That's part of this here because you know that there's something about you and your glow. Now, this is for Cancer. There's something about you and your glow on social media and wherever you go. You got that Leo energy permeating around you, which says, I'm a superstar. And so as you affirm you're a superstar, then what happens is more people look at you. And I say, don't forget me. So this is what that Leo energy does for you. It also gives you focus on ancestral traits. You know, it makes you want to know who you are. Um, Relatives, you can find that there's relatives that get pregnant. um it makes you focus on your own child more and their creativity, um and then the feelings of identifying with yourself and your generation lineage could come up, and there could be needs to revise, releasing ideas of what romance should have been, and accepting romance on your terms with money involved is a thought. Now, this is, I was writing this up, and I believe that one of the things that we should understand is that our value is incorporated in romance. So if I keep on stepping back concerning what I believe about romance and how it should be for me, then I'll keep giving it over to the person that I'm with to dictate romance. See, 1 + 1 = 2. That means that there's a level ground here. It's a leveling up here. And your value won't be thwarted if you are looking at your value and theirs. We both listen. So this is also a place where you coming into a understanding of being in relationship with self, your ego and your spirit. 1 + 1 = 2. And there's wholeness there because we need both. Any questions?
No questions.
Okay. All right. So on to Leo. The Leo experience will be in their first house, which it references their identity. You know, when you look at your identity, or if you write down identity, you can define what is identity, and it helps. um it's not just saying, well, what do you think my identity is? No, this is your own baby right here. Who are you? What are you? And that brings you to self-development, your I amness, and your purpose. This will be a time where Leos grapple with ego and spirit because they're more of the sun and they're used to shining, and it's a lot of focus on Leos because even when you look outside, the sun is shining. If the sun is not up, people are like, oh my God, where's the sun? Oh my God, where's Leo? Oh my God, Leo makes the party. Oh my God, there's no Leo energy in here. Oh my God, because I'm like in that Leo energy right now because Leos are dramatic. Drama is not bad. So they go into the entertainment business. They can be actors, they can be poets, they can be any part of the dramatizations to make other people happy. The thing about that is that they'll forget about themselves. And they'll be people pleasers to the point where they lose their identity. They can become polarized. Oh, you like me smiling? Okay, I'll smile. Oh, you like me being nice? Okay, I'll be nice. And then when they go home, they don't know who they are because they've been everybody but who they are. So they have all these different identities that are pleasing to people, but they don't find pleasure in themselves. And the one thing that is so very significant for them is that they go over and look at how Aquarius characteristics come across. It will help them to become whole because that's what's opposite of them as an individual. Like, I know that a Aquarius sun and a Leo father, the Leo father can learn from the Aquarius sun because in most cases, they're going to be more grounded, resilient about who they are. They believe, Aquariuses believe in freedom even when they don't know it. And so the Leo father will learn from the child in some cases because the Leo is all about Hollywood and dressing up the Walk of Fame, the street of Hollywood, dressing up to impress people rather than, working from the inside to impress like the Aquarius. I hope that I'm giving a good example because that's something that Leos they deal with. What does everybody else think? They will go home and they will worry about what people are saying. Sometimes they will, overreact to situations that they should not. And these will be characteristics of their persona that needs to be released in order for them to gain wholeness. Freedom. There could be fears due to not knowing what to expect if you bring balance to your ego and identity. I think that they really struggle with a lot of stepping over into the unknown when it's necessary, because the unknown has the ability to give you new perspective. You could define that you need to please yourself rather than others. It's like shifting the perspective of, well, I'm doing this and I'm doing that for everyone. Well, you might need to shift that. Another Leo might need to come into that. So, generally, you're looking or you're going to look for yourself before you look for others. I will use that analogy for everyone, but it came up while I was writing for Leos. I think I put something in here that's not settling with me. So, if you look for yourself and then look for others, you get a balance. We don't really we don't live by the martyr or the suffering saint identity anymore because it doesn't work. It means that a lot of people have left this earth unhappy. And in Christ, there needs to be a change. You know, in Christ, there needs to be an understanding that you can have a good time. I mean, I do. And I will. I'm not a partying type of person. I don't dispute that if that's what you do. It's just that that's not my mindset. I'm old, like my mother said. But I feel like if you're happy and enjoying your life, you're going to get results from the universe because your heart is happy. It's not overwhelmed and sad like we see a lot of people, mental health would decrease. Um, let's see, your ancestral identity may be a focus, meaning you're releasing old traditions and looking at traditions of your family's origin or even traditions that you can create. It's like, oh my God, I gotta be like the pilgrims. That's not for the Leos, that's me. Because that's social. It's like, what? Okay, I ain't taking that from you. Oh, did you know the electoral system don't work for everybody? Okay, I ain't gonna take it from you, but I know. See, environment, biological, social. See, that's me. I try to learn it? No, it was impressed upon me from the spirit. So Your creative projects concerning you and your change may be on the table, which means you might release projects in this season. Some things might be overwhelming. Listen, if your family is a project, hello, Leos, or you're a project, you might release yourself, Leo. You might be too much for yourself. Listen, you might be too much for yourself. Uh, if your family too much, you might recognize it and start getting them and making them work. That's how that go. Um, your romance, the life, it might be transformed if you're courageous. Um, because if there's any Leos that are not happy with romance, they might find a way to transform that and make it adaptable for them and their partner. If there's any, there could be romantic interludes that come into the Leo's life at this time, but there will be some that's leaving. All right. Or habits of that interlude or romantic relationship. Something is going to change there. And it can become self-focused. This is all about you looking at your identity and saying, okay, I don't like that way no more. I don't like the doggy style no more. I want to do it another way. Yeah. Yeah, I see your face. But that's true. I mean, ain't no shame here. And this is for in the identity of the Leo, because if you go along with sexual liaisons the way that other people want it, then where's your freedom at? Where's your Aquarius at? Where's the Aquarius energy? Because listen, I don't want to tell you that they're about groups and that you need to go and do it in groups, but you need to get free from doing it the way that people say you're supposed to do it. All right, we ain't talking about no menage a trois, Aquarius energy. I hope y'all following me, because I'm following me. I'm like, wow, spirit. They won't even believe that. See, people, they'll be coming on, they'll be like, oh, that's some other kind of teaching. No, God is real true about having relationships and stuff like that, and having them in the right way, because that's what makes life happy. That's why in the beginning, men and women were created, or a man and a woman, because it was supposed to be a happy situation, but somewhere along the line it was turned into all about the men, or the alpha energy. So the balance of alpha and omega is here. The balance of woman and man is here. And that's what this Leo energy can bring to a Leo. Any questions before I go on? Okay, so Sagittarius will be experiencing this full moon in the ninth house, releasing old philosophies that do not work for them, releasing old religious ideas. Some will be coming into spirituality. They'll be looking at a lot of freedom-oriented information and also adapting to change it. Accepting new freedom ideas will become more relevant. And it's funny how we all play our parts in life, because all of this is happening because we have a part to speak on, or to play, or to teach others in. Travel, long distance, and around the world can change because there's a release in this full moon. I would say for all of us to mind the way that we speak to people also during this time. The aggravation that could come up and that is coming up, be mindful so that we don't forfeit or sabotage anything. Because that energy is out there. And I want to explain that. So please remind me to explain the self-sabotaging energy that's coming up with Neptune and Venus. So travel may be changed in some way that is different from the norm due to the full moon. Many adjustments in school and writing, because the ninth house is the house of philosophy. So you could, the Sagittarius could release a desire to write in the way that they had or go to school the way that they are. They may maintain it. But the thing about it is something in the school area or philosophy concerning their schooling and higher learning will change. The seeds that you planted 6 months ago, they're working. So you be mindful of releasing feelings about, oh, I don't want to do this, or I don't feel like it, because that's null and void. And I'm talking to everyone that's out there, because the Sagittarius energy is impacted with responsibility. Like the new moon in Capricorn, it was just in the Sagittarius second house, so their money was being influenced, which means that where you work and all of that is still on the table because you planted seeds, which means that if you work at a place and your education is motivated by it, then you're keeping that momentum because your money's coming soon. You're planted in that area. I want to make that clear because there's no changing this, right? And that's for Sagittarius. I mean, I work with a therapist and I see him up leveling, but I also see him backtracking and letting go of some of his old behaviors that would cause him to be in a place where he's like, why? Because, you know, emotionally, everything was a party about 4 years ago for maybe Sagittariuses that are becoming mature. Just because you laughing and you having a good time with this Sagittarius energy in Leo's house, ninth house, doesn't mean that you're going to overlook truths about yourself that need to be matured and truths that you need to release. The expansion of thinking that is not necessary, bringing it back down to your goals. Yeah, and keeping it there, right? And this is how it is. The need for people to like what you do in these areas, because I feel like people can have what they want if you let them, but they can't have what they want if you don't let them. So you have to have a mindset of correction, even here. Because if I look at correction in this house, when I go over, I might flip-flop. When I go over to the scale or the wheel, so it says, you know, big thinking. That's only for a portion of a time where you are writing out, and that's Sagittarius, when you're writing out the plan. But you always have to come to the weekly plan versus the 6-month plan. You can't work in the 6-month plan every day. And that's something all of y'all can take. But the ninth house, it allows you again to look at travel. Here we go, right here: wisdom, philosophy, higher learning, education, law. This should be a comfortable space, even though you're having to release some things like religion or even your own judgment about things and people. Okay, so that's the ninth house. In the fifth house, let's go back over it. For all of us, we are experiencing energy in the fifth house that we're releasing. And it has to do with romance, love, affairs, play, creativity, fertility, childlike spirit, joy, self-expression, and drama. Now, when we look at self-expression, that's where the drama comes up for the moon, because we all become theatrical. We all become actors. But what part of the acting do you need to release, right? And when I told you guys about Capricorn, the main focus is 5 and 8 for me, merging sex. So sex could become overwhelming for me, or the intimacy idea, shared finances that will be released and then new ones to come, inheritance, taxes, loans, assets. All of these are released. Hiya, thank you. And debt free. That's what it's saying. I don't know debt to man because I walk by the spirit. Um, Joint ventures and goals. There's a release of the way we used to do it. And I kid you not, when I came on, I was talking about how people do things and don't see themselves, but then we have to connect as groups and deal with it. And the best thing to do is if the person or people is not ready to move away from it, make suggestions, leave them alone, or find a new way of beingness. Any questions?
No questions.
Okay. So, at the end of the day, our conclusion here will be we're releasing old ways of romance. Let's do an upgrade and think about how we want it. Then also think about the group interaction of romance, but not, we're not doing no Roman Caesar kind of thing. We could be teaching romance. We could be releasing old romantic ideas that we thought were good, but they weren't. When we look at people and how their sexuality has been abused, we could look at that romance factor having to change. The idea of love also changes. And in this moon, I would say conditional love has its name on the table. If you live in a mindset of conditions or partners or people around you, then they have to change, but you can't change them. You can change and you can make the statement or idea or affirmations that, I accept people for themselves. I live and I am, someone that advocates for unconditional love. Um, and that can begin to change the course of issues that you face where there's conditions. Because everyone in the world is created mentally on conditions. How you should think, how you should look. This here, this is going to break all of that down. You get your own idea of how you create your way of being, looking, teaching, finances, how your home looks. I had somebody say, well, Kim, if I hit the lottery, I would buy you new furniture in your own house. Because your furniture, you like old people's furniture. Okay, just buy it for me. I have nothing to say. And don't wait until you hit the lottery. Do it now. So fertility, you can reap benefits out of planting here, planting, not just sperm, okay? Planting seeds that grow food, planting childlike thoughts where you can just start smiling and be happy. Because you're pulling up, thoughts of, oh gosh, I'm an adult. I got to be adult all the time. You do, but you need to learn how to balance and be a child and have fun like your children. Understand what this spirit and joy and self-expression means. And that drama doesn't mean that you're always causing problems in people's lives or that they're causing problems. There will be a release in that. People will be arguing and having conflict to show them that that's not productive because it's drama. All right. So, in conclusion, that's all I have.
This was really good, Miss Kim, because I know you saw the video because I saw your comments about this being my year of yes. So it's very on target with me not being fearful and like pushing through the fear. And then I also like behind the scenes told Jasmine that I wanted to like 2 to 3 times a week be posting either on YouTube, on TikTok, or writing in my blog. So everything you said was like nail on head on what I wanted to do for myself for this year. So it lets me know that I'm starting the year off right and I'm in the flow.
Great. That's great to hear. Anybody else?
Yeah, it also explains why I have been feeling like I want to go to work.
You said what?
I said this has also been explaining like the energy around like I'd be like when I'm home for long periods of time, I'm like, I don't want to go to work. Like I don't want to go back. Like I just want to be home. I don't want to go. And then I'm like, if I don't go to work, I don't feel like going to school either. So it explains why I'm battling that energy or have been battling that energy.
Yeah. You could be looking at also because Leo, the full moon came up, and you could be looking at, like, I'm trying to get you to make those videos for your classes, like, smaller or just do cuts. That's creative projects. It could set you up to, if you wanted to change careers to come out of it. That's creativity.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Hmm?
I said that makes sense. I've been
Yeah.
trying to find time to cut the videos.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, Honora, you good? Good job.
I'm okay. I
Okay,
think I
you
need
don't,
to say again.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying to myself that I think I need to watch the recording again because I've gotten interrupted. But thank you.
Okay. Are you going to listen to it?
Absolutely. I'm leaving the house and I'm taking Jocelyn to basketball practice, so I will be able to listen to it uninterrupted.
Oh, let me cut this off. Oh, wait. Okay, I'm sorry.